If you could go back and change one decision, would you? Or would changing that one decision change everything? I just got back from a weekend at the lake with one of my best friends, and we were sitting around talking about all the wild, messy, crazy things we did in our youth. And at one point he paused and he just said, "Yeah, but I wouldn't change a thing." And that hit me like a ton of bricks. Because do our regrets shape us as much as our wins do? I mean, would we even be who we are without the mistakes, the detours, the heartbreaks? Seriously, would you really change your past decisions? What's one thing you've done, good or bad, that you would change if you could? Drop it in the comments below. Would you really go back and undo it? Would it be worth it? You see, Martin and I have known each other since the fall of 1986, and we get together 2 to 3 times a year, a lot of times to reminisce. At least once we get together with more of our friends, and boy, that's a wild time. It always turns to, thank God we didn't have any phones back in our day, no cameras in our pockets, because holy smokes, would we have got ourselves in a lot of trouble. The only evidence we have is right up here, our memories. And when Martin said that, I wouldn't change a thing, I just sat there dumbfounded. And this morning, as I was driving home, I drove home in complete and total silence, just thinking about that statement, thinking about my life. Is there anything I would have changed? And boom, there I was, engaged at age 23 to a girl I did not marry. And it made me wonder, how different would my life have been had we not decided to not get married? Would it have been happiness, or would it have been a life of quiet desperation? You see, I definitely don't regret making that decision because I have an incredible wife, an incredible life, because I did not marry that person. Don't get me wrong, at the time, it was heartbreaking. It was crushing. I mean, it was my fiance, and things didn't work out. But I wouldn't change it. And as I drove a little bit further down the road, I thought of that friend, or so I thought was a friend, who ran into me and asked me what I was doing. And I told him I was in sales. And he goes, I need to bring somebody on to help me develop my business. Will you come work for me? And my wife said, you know, I don't know if that's such a good idea, because remember when he fired so and so? And supposedly that was his best friend. I didn't listen to her. He was offering me a lot of money. I chased the dollar bill. I took that job. 18 months later, I had helped him increase his business by 50%. It was 50% larger than it was 18 months earlier. And my reward for it? You're fired. That's right. He fired me. Do I regret taking that job? No, I don't think so. I learned a lot. I regret not listening to my wife, though. She's pretty wise. And then as I drove a little bit further down the road, it got me thinking about sitting at the kitchen table when my son was 8 years old. This was in the early 2000s. We had just finished dinner. The kids excused themselves, and my wife said, I don't understand why you're not more passionate about building your remodeling business. Why aren't you trying to grow it? And I paused for a second and I looked at her and I said, our son is 8 years old. He's going to be here for 10 more years, and then he's going to be gone and out of the house. And I want to spend the next 10 years developing a relationship with him that will last a lifetime. And she paused and she said, okay. And it made me wonder, if I'd have worked harder at building that business, a few years later in 2008 when the economy shut down and I basically had to close the doors of my business because I didn't have any work for almost a year, I wonder, would I have sustained that economic recession? Or would I still have my business? Would I still be a remodeling contractor? But then it makes me realize that, but I wouldn't be a teacher. And I'm making such a huge impact on the next generation, teaching our youth. So no, I wouldn't change that decision either. So I think I have to agree with Martin. Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. And there's a whole plethora of other decisions that were made in the last 40 years that made me exactly who I am. They were good decisions, they were bad decisions. They were the right decisions and they were the wrong decisions. But I wouldn't change a single one because the only bad decision is the one you don't learn from. You see, life is nothing but a series of decisions. And at the moment, whatever you decide is the right decision. You just have to step out on faith, walk through that decision, and learn from it. Sometimes you're going to learn what success looks like and continue to make decisions similar to that. Other times you're going to learn what failure looks like and don't make decisions like that. We're humans. We're ever evolving. We are our own lab experiment. We are the scientist and at the same time the specimen. The awesome thing about it is you're going to learn every step of the way. Well, let's hope. If you're not learning every step of the way, perhaps you should put on your science coat, your lab coat, if you will, and be a little bit more scientist and a little bit less lab rat. Learn from the decisions. Learn to be better. Learn and grow and start to move in the direction you want your life to be. After talking with Martin this weekend, it just made me realize how awesome life is. I have a skull full of crazy memories that, thank God, is not on this thing. Like I said, some of them were messy, but God, they were fun, and I wouldn't change them for the world. If you're still here, I really appreciate you. My name's Jim Burrows, and I'll see you in the next video.